But Cease, I want to talk about these Broncos. I want to talk about what they need. Do they need anything? Have they checked enough boxes, filled enough holes, whatever you want to call it, now that we're through free agency and we're also through the draft? So roster's built for the most part, right? There'll be a couple of bodies added and subtracted certainly when we get into late July, or really I should say late August. But is it tight end? Is it another running back? We've talked about J.K. Dobbins before and the situation that he was in. Cease, do you think they've done enough to build this roster to take the next step? They were competitive.
Yeah.
Be more competitive. Win a wild card game. Is this roster ready to take the next step?
You could do more. Now, it comes down to a couple of players, and it comes down to what do you think of Audric Estime? Obviously, and Mike Kliss was the canary in the coal mine. When we talked to Kliss a week before the draft, he's like, Audric Estime. When he was on with Zach and Phil, and he's like, Audric Estime. I was like, wait a second, what? Why are we talking about a fifth-round pick from last year that couldn't beat out Javonte Williams? Oh, it's because they want to give him that opportunity. Okay, I get it. You pick a guy, even though it is a fifth-round pick, you spend capital on a draft pick, and he didn't show enough, but he didn't show quite enough, and maybe you show a little bit more, and maybe he gets it now, maybe he hangs on to the ball now, or maybe he doesn't. And then you've got to be ready for a J.K. Dobbins, for a Nick Chubb, for a veteran back that's out there. You have to be ready to make a move. You have to be ready to make a trade, if possible, at the running back position, because the power element comes from one player. Tyler Bidet is not a power runner. Blake Watson, not a power runner. Jaleel McLaughlin, not a power runner. R.J. Harvey, a little more power, a little more balance than you think, but he's not the pile pusher. If you need the hammer, you got one guy that can do it. His name's Audric Estime, and if he's not good at doing that one job, then you're going to have to find somebody else.
Sean talked about that, and it's a great segue there because you're talking about Audric. Sean was asked after the draft about growth from running backs from rookie year to their sophomore season.
Well, I think the latter is part of the draft process. I think oftentimes you can't unfold or say, hey, we just took two receivers, but man, another one appeared and we felt value in the pick. I would say to the first part of the question, and we're talking about some of our younger players, man, year one, they get exposed to what we're doing. We'll see growth in year two. We're excited to see that with these guys, and that's whether it's Blake, Audric, Tyler Bidet, meaning I think a lot of times there's this perception, a player was drafted there. This list can vary, and we understand there's a need element, and we always pay attention to that. But we look forward to seeing their development.
All right, I will say this before we dive deep into his answer there. He mentions Blake Watson. He didn't say his name a whole lot last year. He did get the call up, one game in the latter part of the season? But because of injuries and things that were going on with Tyler
He looked pretty good.
He did look pretty good. But him mentioning him I think that's a positive thing for guys like us. I like him based off things I've learned from you.
Right.
But he's in the mix for that, which I really, really like. I know you have questions about Audric Estime, and they're more than fair, the questions that you have about who he can become. But I am interested to see, under the tutelage of Sean, what this player, Audric in this case, can be in year number 2. Do I feel like he's going to be the answer at running back? I do not, and they don't either. That's why they drafted R.J. Harvey.
Right, exactly.
So I'm intrigued to see if he can be useful, I guess is the term I'm looking for. Can you find a role for Audric Estime, or did you just bust out a 5th-round pick a year ago, take a lighter, burn that thing, and watch it fall to the ground?
Well, and a lot of 5th-round picks are like that.
Yeah, of course.
You know
it's
what I
a
mean?
5th rounder.
And that's why whenever we talk about Estime, I go, there's no guarantee he makes the roster. And people get up in their feelings, but it's like you're a 5th-round pick. There is zero room for error with Audric Estime. I'm telling you, he fumbles once, I'm on the phone. He fumbles once in practice. He bobbles a pass in practice, I'm on the phone. Right? Now, maybe not to replace him, but to just add more competition when it comes to that specific role. So have they done enough? I think you still need that closer. You've got plenty of knives. You need a hammer. You got plenty of guys that can come out there and rip off big plays. Jaleel McLaughlin can rip off big plays. Now that's more as a receiver than as a runner. Blake Watson can rip off some big plays, but we have to see it. You don't have anything proven. R.J. Harvey, we're projecting as someone who can rip off big plays as a runner and as a receiver. But sometimes it's a tight game. It's raining. The track is wet. You've got a lead. You're up by 3. There's 7 minutes left. You've got the ball in your own side of the field. You need to get it down the field. You don't even need a field goal. You just need to hold on.
Yeah.
That's where the hammer can come in. That's where the guy's just pounding away at you, softening you up in the fourth quarter. That could be Audric Estime. But right now, there's a Sam Kinison line that I can't use specifically because it's Sam Kinison. But if you don't trust the blank, why are you messing with the blank? If you don't trust the running back, why are you giving the running back the ball?
Yeah.
I don't trust Audric Estime yet. The Broncos obviously do to a certain level. But that level is going to be real shaky if he doesn't show well in training camp.
Well, I think running back is a conversation to be had. I think tight end is another conversation to be had. We're getting a bunch of reports. It was Daniel Jeremiah had it. They're like, hey, the Broncos were talking about trading up. They saw Colston Loveland get picked at 10 by the Bears, and the phone stopped ringing after that. So maybe that was the player, one of the players that they had targeted there. And then obviously Sajid Barron falling and picked a hell of a football player at 20. But Sean talked about that too. He was asked just point blank, hey, do you have enough at tight end?
Well, when you ask coaches that question, the answer is always we never have enough. All right, but it's a fair question. We feel we put ourselves in a good position. You know, one of the things, if the right player fits in free agency, where we're not just saying, hey, we have to, but if the right player fits, it allows you a little bit more freedom in the draft, maybe different than our first year here. As we discuss this group of players, there's a clear vision relative to what we think their strengths are and how they'll compete in year one. We're further along than 2 years ago.
There's relative again. It's been a while since I heard him drop that one, so it's nice to get that back in the mix.
Relative to vision,
he loves
all those
it.
sorts of things.
Did they do enough? I would have been very disappointed had they not got Evan Ingram or drafted. I know they drafted a tight end, but I don't really count that. He's a basketball player and not like the good one. I actually don't mind where they're at with tight end because I have so much faith in what Evan Ingram's going to provide.
Okay.
I think it's a position of need in next year's draft and free agency.
Right.
And I think they'll do both.
I'll bring up a delicate subject based on when I told Sean Payton, like, hey, your best player in minicamp's been Lucas Kroll.
Yeah.
But he got to stay for sure. If you're looking at players that kind of won, quote unquote, won in the draft that you're already having the roster, Audric Estime's won because you didn't draft the second back, a power back. And Lucas Kroll's another one because he's the only one. We know what Troutman is. We know.
I know what he is.
We know what Nate Atkins is.
Yeah, I know what he is too.
He's kind of like the future Troutman. He's like your Troutman in waiting. Got to have two of those guys.
Well, anybody needs a Troutman in waiting is beyond me. But
Right.
You do you, Sean.
That's Sean, right? If you're a Sean guy, you're going to have a job forever.
Yeah. I do respect that about Sean.
Yeah. It's loyalty, right?
Especially this business, we get fired every other year.
Exactly. So thank you, Sean. Can I have a job, Sean? Do you like me, Sean? I hope so. Kroll is the one that's different from everybody else. And it went under the radar. We didn't even talk about it. I mean, we could probably talk about Lucas Kroll signing his RFA tender, more so ERFA tender, than the Rockies and anything that they do. But like when that goes down, you go, okay, well, you're an ERFA. You just, you don't have many options anyway. But you also go, oh, he's the only other move tight end option they really have. So he's got an opportunity to be that second guy with Ingram in terms of pass catchers, like dangerous pass catchers, and the skill's there. But as I watched the wild card game in Buffalo, I was sitting next to Mace, and Romy was on the right side, and I just said, hey, watch Lucas Kroll. He doesn't know what he's doing. And that's a problem. When you go all the way through the season and you're in a playoff game and you have a guy like asking what to do when you break the huddle.
Oh, that's not good.
And I like Lucas Kroll. Obviously, he wasn't the best player. And, of course, Sean had to go out. Who are you talking about? That's Quinn Miners. That's PS2. Yeah, Sean, we know.
No, stop. It's fitting your narrative. Stop.
Yeah, well, Lucas Kroll was the best of the skill position players during minicamp.
That we're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Sean trying to dunk on you, and there's no reason to dunk right there. If I'd have been there, I'd have fouled the hell out of him trying to dunk on my guy.
And then I'd have taken his Jordans.